question. Let's start out with Palmer Toms, and then we'll go to Mark Weiser.
Yeah, Kirby, just wanted to ask for a quick injury update on Kendall Milton. I noticed you didn't include him in yesterday's update there. And along the lines of Xavier Truss, how has he looked in practice this week?
Kendall is back running, which is good. I think he got up to 10 to 15 miles an hour yesterday, not truly practicing with us. He's cutting and running straight line. Doubtful for this week that we would get him back, but optimistic that we would get him back for Georgia Tech. It's kind of the timeline we've had since the injury. So certainly hopeful we can get him back in time for Tech. Truss has done a good job. He's worked at guard. He and Warren have both worked in there some. Warren was still out yesterday with the flu symptoms from the game, but he was back today and working. And Xavier has a lot of ability. Xavier's biggest thing is, can he carry over and focus and concentrate to do the things he has to do and really play with a lot of intensity. So that's one of the things, is dependability is the biggest thing with Xavier is snap count, assignment. And to his credit, he hasn't been at guard as long as our guards. Like at Warren has kind of played in there since he got here. Xavier was moved in there, and now he's been there for a while, but he still hasn't seen the twist and the action as much as Warren
has. Carson and Brock get in practice, so, when they're not with the ones or the twos. What have you seen from them this season in practice, as the years progressed in terms of their development?
I think you cut on late there, Mark. I heard Carson and Brock, and then that was the start of what I heard.
I was asking kind of, what you've seen in practice from them as the season's progressed in terms of their development.
I've seen Brock a lot up close because he's been the scout team quarterback. He's simulated a lot of these guys that we've had. Really athletic, makes throws on the run, very accurate, competitive. He likes going against that defense each day. He doesn't always have the best protection, but we're not hitting him either. So he's done a really good job. Carson's continued to grow. He hasn't had as many reps as he had before, before he was working with the twos. And now his reps come through either mental reps, walkthrough reps, or threes reps, which we get some in practice. So I've been very pleased with both of their developments. And to be honest with you, I got complete confidence in both those guys as quarterbacks because I think they're really, really talented players.
All right, next question to Mike Griffith and then to Anthony Dasher.
Kirby, earlier this year, you talked about the danger of playing the scoreboard instead of playing to a standard. Is that something that you have to emphasize, I guess, in a week like this when we really don't know much about the level of competition you'll be facing?
As far as it's definitely something you worry about in terms of playing to get better. Like, I was frustrated with yesterday's practice, and probably the first Monday that I felt like I was frustrated because I felt like there was a relaxed atmosphere and not that, I don't know what the killer instinct I've seen on some Mondays. And it was a little frustrating for me because we've had really good practices. So I don't know if that was a relief from the Tennessee game or if that was, about who we're playing. I just was not pleased with it. It was better today, but it still wasn't what I expect our Tuesdays to be. So I'm trying to, reach out to the leaders and make sure they handle that the right way. But as far as playing the scoreboard or playing to a standard, I always, want our guys to play to a certain standard and a certain standard of excellence of how we play, execution, regardless of who we play.
Hey, Coach. I wanted to ask you something as it pertains to Jordan and Devonte, as far as your thoughts on the mentality they have when it comes to competing and how understanding that aspect, helps to make them even better individual players.
Yeah, you're referencing them competing with each other or competing?
Well, just competing in general. I mean, just what they do on the field, not just, against each other, but just understanding what it means to be a competitor.
Yeah, Devonte's extremely competitive. He hates losing. He probably gets angry quicker than Jordan when things aren't going well. He was frustrated the first drive against Tennessee, and sometimes you have to support Devonte and just tell him it's going to be okay. Jordan has a cooler presentation, and level heads will prevail with Jordan. So they have very different personalities, almost opposite ends of the spectrum, but they both respect each other and love each other so much. They've grown to be really good friends, and very different backgrounds. But they're great competitors. They've been great for Georgia. Their decision to come back was probably the most impactful of everybody's, because they probably had, the highest grades of those juniors that came back, because it's so hard to find defensive linemen. And those guys coming back kind of put everything in motion.
Next question to Dean Legge and then to Chip Towers.
Kirby, y'all have had Channing, Nakobe, Jordan. These guys, I mean, just a slew of guys on the defense have had really good seasons so far. When did you suspect that would be the case? Was that in the spring, or did you think you'd had to develop it in terms of camaraderie as well as what they were doing on the field during the summer and the fall?
I don't really know. It wasn't like I went through the spring. I've never been overconfident. If anything, I've been the opposite and concerned. And I don't remember much about the spring now that you asked that question. I know, we were going to be high powered. I felt like we were going to be high powered, on offense. And then George went down and Jermaine didn't make it through the spring. So it was like, man, are we really getting tested? I don't remember the front dominating like this. Maybe they did, and I just don't remember. When I first realized it was the Clemson game, and it was just they're really good. And we had coaches on staff, Will included, that just said it was a really good front. He thought it was going to be special, and he was right. He's been around a lot of good ones and seen them. And I think the combination of Jalen growing up, those two coming back, Trevon, Nolan, there's just a lot of good players up there, and that front has really helped us. Their confidence kind of exudes itself to the team and carries over and probably helps the secondary. Those guys are not as confident as the front linebackers, but it's helped them.
Yeah, Coach, I'm just hoping you could expound a little bit on James Cook. Obviously, he's one of these seniors that has come back, and in the Tennessee game in particular, gets a lot of touches. I think he averaged like 13, 14 yards a touch in that game. It was that, just kind of seeing more of him and him making more explosive plays in that game in particular, a function of playing Tennessee, or is this the type of thing that you're capable of doing with James every week?
You can't read too much into it. He did have a couple explosive plays. So he had a play that was a sweep that turned explosive. He had the double move, which, that double move could have been any of 3 or 4 backs. It just happened to be he was in. So he did an incredible. The first run for a touchdown, he made an unbelievable cut, but our quarterback made a check. Our center blocked movement. Our other guard got up on a second level player, and James really went untouched, and he made a great run to outrun the middle field safety. But that run was, I don't know what it was, 40 yards or something. So when you look at some of those touches and those averages, there were some plays in there that were just explosive and blocked well. So I'd love to give James all the credit for those, but some of those were plays that were really schemed up and blocked well and done well. Now, he's been more explosive at the back end of this year than I ever remember. I think, he's a little fresher. He hasn't taken the same load. We have not asked him to play on as many special teams this year, and I think it's helped him have a little juice in terms of running the ball. He's not starting on punt. He's not starting on kickoff coverage. We're kind of exclusively using him to keep him fresh on offense.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Okay, next question to Seth Emerson and then to Jake Rowe.
Kirby, kind of a big picture question. You guys in Cincinnati are 1-2 in the polls, not the playoff poll, but 1-2 in the major polls and unbeaten, and you all played in the Peach Bowl. Obviously, do you think that game, two-part question, did that game kind of provide a good spark for you guys into the offseason? And is that game in any way you think relevant to how good you and Cincinnati are this year?
I can't answer that on their behalf because I haven't seen them play. Obviously, we played them last year and got a lot of respect for them. I'll tell you what, they do a tremendous job. And it was, a game, let's be honest, we were probably lucky to win. We didn't play real well. And maybe that had something to do with them because of the way they played. They played good defense. Their quarterback was a good player, but I haven't seen them play this year. So I don't know how relevant it is to the rankings this year, because I haven't been able to follow them. I follow most of the SEC games. So I don't know how their scores have been, how they've done, who they've played really. But I have a lot of respect for their team. Their quarterback especially does a great job, and Luke does a tremendous job. And it was a game that we were very fortunate to win.
Kirby, last week you told us about, George getting some work with the scouts. So I wanted to see if there was anything new with him this week, if there's any step forward for him in terms of his progression back from that injury.
Well, we're doing a lot of good on good, meaning we're practicing less against the scouts this week and more against ourselves and giving each other good looks. So he's been going against our one defense some. We do 7-on-7. He gets rid. He's really doing the same thing he did last week. If that's what you're asking. So yeah, he's doing very similar things, just probably more of it in terms of more reps and more volume, picking that volume up. He's still in a non-contact jersey and practicing with us.
All right, next question to Matthew Welch, and then we'll go to Davis Baker.
Yeah, Coach, I just wanted to ask you your thoughts on the overall progression of the secondary as the season's gone on, and maybe a little bit of the bump in the road last week and how you want them to respond out on the field this weekend.
No, I was very proud of them last week. Very proud of them. Not a bump in the road. They were tested. You know what I mean? They had good players and they had the ball in the air. You go back to the previous weeks, you can't go back to the previous weeks and say where we made a lot of plays down the field and made plays on the ball. We definitely got tested, and we gave some plays up. But when you play the style of play that we played last week, you're going to give plays up, and they're tough to defend. So I was really proud of them. If anything, I think last week gives them some more confidence because they went out and played against good people. They competed, they covered them some, and they got beat some. But we got good enough players up front that they got to win most of their battles, not all of their battles.
Hey, Coach, you talked a little bit about it earlier, but how was practice today? Did you feel like it was better than yesterday?
Yep. That's exactly what I said. Yeah, today was better than yesterday, and today was not to the standard that I expect a Tuesday to be at in season, but it was better than the previous.
And so what in particular do you expect from tomorrow?
To be better than today and to be to the standard of our past 4 or 5 Wednesdays would be the goal.
Okay, next question to Connor Riley and then to Lance McCurley.
Hey, Kirby, was wondering if you had a quick update on where Dominique Blalock is, and then sort of a bigger picture question. How do you get players to get better at identifying things pre-snap in terms of educating them and helping them get a look at what an opposing defense or offense might be doing?
Reps. I mean, the only way to do that is reps. And reps on top of reps on top of reps, really fast reps, not slow, not video, not talking. Go out there and do it because you can't simulate the speed of the game. It happens to these guys. And the only way they get better at that is going out and doing it. Dom was, bounced back and he's been down with a flu bug. So he wasn't with us yesterday or Tuesday. So he's been dealing with the flu.
Hey, Coach, what's been the progression since the Tennessee 3? I think it's Zion Logue, Timon Mitchell, and Bill Norton have come on campus. And are you expecting them, to play a good role in the future of this program?
I certainly hope so. They're 3 of the hardest workers on the team. Zion plays a good bit for us in rotation. Timon and Bill haven't really cracked that rotation, but Bill helps a lot on special teams. And Timon is probably the hardest, toughest nosed player we got. He takes more snaps than anybody, and he's made himself into a good player on the scout team. He's got some really talented guys in front of him, and so that he hasn't gotten a lot of reps. But we were able to travel him last week, and we're able to travel him to Vanderbilt. And he's a great young man, and he busts his butt every day at practice, and I appreciate it.
We have time for 2 more questions. If anybody wants to jump in, go ahead.
Hey, Kirby, how do you think your team has handled being the number 1 team in college football now, I guess, over a month of the season?
I think early on, it was like, I don't know. I think people try to make it a distraction in the media and questions and stuff, but it's really just gone away because, I mean, not that I know of, it hasn't affected anything because our guys have managed it. They practiced hard. They've been physical. They've locked into the opponent. So, I mean, to be honest with you, I hadn't even thought about it since the questions y'all asked several weeks ago.
Coach, I don't think we've asked you about Tramel Walthour and Robert Beal. I know they got banged up the other day as well.
Nope, they've both been good. One was an ankle that Tramel was working on, and I think he's been fine. And Bill's been in practice the last 2 days, been in good shape.
So thanks, man.
Thanks, Coach Smart.
Thank y'all.